Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am Dr. Michele. I'm the Chief Data Scientist of Mogul Beginnings Data Consulting. And this is my partner and friend, Teresa. Tell me who
Hi,
you are, girl.
Hi everyone. I'm Teresa Pelham, the founder and CEO of the Grants Boutique, where we offer comprehensive grant writing services.
Awesome. So, we are here today to talk about how you can spend your grant money because we're making the assumption that, everyone here is applying for grants. And so, once you apply for those grants, like, what are you supposed to say? Like, how are you supposed to spend the money? Because, you can't say the wrong thing. Okay. So, we're just going to start there. And I'll just throw out a couple questions, and Teresa's and I going to go back and forth. But before we get too far into it, let us know where you're tuning in from. We're both here in South Carolina, believe it or not. So even though we live in this big old digital world, we are both here in South Carolina. So let us know where you are tuning in from. And we have our eyes and comments should come across the screen. And then let us know if you represent a nonprofit or a business. And you can just let us know in the comments as well. We want to engage with you so that way we know what's going on, how to serve you best. Okay. Okay. Teresa, anything you want to say before we get started?
No, I'm just excited to share some knowledge. I know a lot of times, once you've been approved for a grant funding, we want to say congratulations, but then you're like, okay, what next? So we're going to be here to say, welcome to the post award stage of your grant.
I love that. So before we get to the post stage, I do want to take us 2 steps back.
Okay.
What are some like big no-nos when, because when you're filling out the application, they say, well, how do you intend to use this money? Okay. So everyone has to feel, it doesn't matter if this is for a grant that's $1,000 or 100,000. You're going to have to tell the people how you want to spend the grant money. What's something they should not say? Because real quick, let me tell you why I asked that. Because I posted a question last week. It said, if your organization or your business was gifted $5,000, what would you do with it? And most of the people said marketing. And I understand why they said marketing. Then you get, more eyes on what they have to offer, all that stuff. So that's where this question is coming from. So if you answer marketing to that question, or you answer something else, we're gonna hear today if that $5,000 was a grant, was some things that you probably shouldn't say. Okay,
All right.
Teresa.
All right. One thing is when you are applying for a grant, always look and see what the funder is going to fund. So a lot of times I see grant applications where people put things down that the funder didn't even say they were going to fund. So number one, read and see what the funder is going to fund. If they say we're going to fund educational service, maybe like a workshop or something, you can put that. If they did not say that, don't put it down. All right.
So marketing is not the answer for everything.
Marketing is not the answer for everything. Make sure you read what the funders is going to fund. All right. They have guidelines. Follow the guidelines.
That's
Another,
good.
another thing is make sure what you put down, you can explain it in your budget narrative. A lot of times people put things down and then you go to the narrative and they don't say how they're going to use it or why they need it. So don't put down a new car or a truck and not explain how you're going to use it in your business and why you need to purchase it. Okay. And
So I can't just write that I need a car. That's not good enough.
even though I am joking, I have seen that on applications. And they may be using a van or something for their business, but they didn't tell us why and how they were going to use it. So
That's
don't do
good.
that. All right.
And I'm glad you said that because when we're applying for grants, a lot of times we really are just thinking about what we need. And there's nothing wrong with and correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing wrong with thinking about what you need and how this grant is going to help you fill that deficit. But I think when we are so self-centered, for lack of better words, on what we need and like not considering what the funder is willing to, contribute for, like I think that's how a lot of us get canceled. It's just like, well, I mean, yeah, you need marketing, but the funder cares about this. or yeah,
Right.
you need, to hire somebody, but how is it going to help you do that program? So I think even if you log off right now, you probably got enough to even just, modify your applications, because there are applications that are still currently being, submitted. You have enough to modify applications. So if you just put marketing without investigating to see what the funders really are looking for,
Right.
go ahead and edit.
True. And remember that funders want to fund your why, not your what.
That's good.
They want to fund your why.
Let me write
Why
that
are
down.
you doing this? And how your why going to impact the community? Okay. So remember that when you create your budget and when you're asking for things.
Or I gotta write that in the banner because they need to see that.
Yeah. Remember, funders want to fund your why, not your what. Okay.
That's
So
good.
remember,
That's good. I never thought about it like that. So how do we kind of like remix it a little bit where it's like I need, let's say it is marketing.
mm-hmm.
I do need marketing to get more people to buy, or perhaps it is a nonprofit organization. They do some camps, because I know a lot of nonprofit do camps for children and different things like that. Like, how can they spin it where it's like, okay, I need marketing to promote this program to get it out there to these children, this community. How can they spin it so it is the why?
Yeah, just like you said, you might need marketing, but what would that marketing do? One, it would allow you to offer services to oops,
She a big lady,
or
y'all, so
allow
it's a blessing you have her.
yeah, it's a it allow you to offer services to your community. So you
Okay.
always think about that why. Always have it. My marketing, I need this is because it will give me exposure, not just to the community, but also let the community know that you will offer these services. So you got to spin it a little bit. It
Okay.
may marketing may help you reach areas in underserved populations. You got to
Okay.
spin it a little bit, you know. So marketing can be good. It's how you gonna present it to the funder.
Okay. Now this is my last question about that. Because I know, and I say that was probably like 75% of the people that responded. So should they use the word marketing or promotion? Like, what's a good word?
Uh, Either one is good. I
Okay.
I sometimes I use marketing, sometimes I promote use promotion. Sometimes I don't even use either one, and then I say I will use this to help the underserved community address whatever I want to do. So
I
it
like
depends. So,
that.
you
Okay.
know,
That's
just
good.
think about it.
That's good. So, y'all, Teresa has already dropped bars, and we're only 8 minutes in. So, yes, you may have to run this back to be able to hear that one more time, especially if you have some pending applications that you're writing. I know I try to take, time twice a month to sit down and write some applications. And the reason why we're addressing this is because we want to give you a taste of what's coming up, which is our Grant Success Unlocked workshop. Let me show that to you guys. So our Grand Success Unlock workshop, it is to help you answer questions like this. Let's move that banner. It is
Yes.
to help you answer questions like this. What can I say? What shouldn't I say? How do I know, who they're looking for, what they're looking to fund? You want to be able to answer all those questions, and you can get access to this for free, this workshop, which is like next Saturday. So you got a whole nother almost 2 weeks to register. So register now at grantsuccessunlocked.com. You can, just literally type that in your URL bar, and you want to be there. It's free, y'all. Okay. It's free.
Yeah.
So yes, you can bring all these questions to that workshop, and we will be able to answer those for you.
Right. And a lot of times, because I do this so much, it's easier for me to just come up with the sayings and how to write things. So I want you to specifically come out and ask me any question that you may have. So during this time, I need you to go ahead and register for the Grant Success Unlock, but don't just register. get the VIP, because that's when we have our Q&A, and you can ask me anything you want. If you're working on a grant, you can ask me about that. I'll help you go through the steps. Anything that you want to ask me about grants,
Awesome.
I'm there to help you.
And she is serious, okay? Like she has a very big open heart, busy schedule. So if you can catch her, especially that more intimate time on the VIP, like she said, that's probably ideal. That way you can get your specific questions answered as opposed to, more the blanket. Because right now we're covering just blanket questions, that general questions that most people have. So that may or may not be your question, or you have to submit an application like the next week or two. I got a question about this. You want to bring that application and that question to the workshop, okay? And it's free, so you can go ahead and register now. So cost is no longer a barrier. But if you do want the more intimate help and Q&A sessions, you do want to register for the VIP as well.
And I want to share with them, during the last VIP, we had some people that were applying for a grant, and I actually walked them through it. I gave them some suggestions on how to answer the questions. I even went and found some research that they can put into their grant that can help. So it's
Awesome.
very helpful.
Awesome. Okay, so we put some, stuff down on the grant application, and they say, yes, your grant has been awarded. Okay, now we're going to kind of fast forward back to where we want to be. The grant has been awarded. What do they do now? Like, how will they spend this money? How are they documenting this? Like, because they're going to know, the grant funders are going to know, how did you spend this money? That's my first question. Like, how do they document it? And then what are they doing with the money? Oh, Teresa, she might be frozen. Oh, no. Okay. Well, hopefully we can get her back in just a second. But if you are just joining, I am Dr. Michele, and I have my partner with me, Teresa Pelham. Okay, yeah, she had to rejoin. And we're talking about how to spend that grant money. If you just joined, we've already covered, what you should and maybe shouldn't say when you're actually applying for the application, because you do have to tell the funders how you plan to spend the money. And then we're going to kind of catching up to, once you get the money, what do you do? Okay. Remember, the takeaway from the last one was, when you are telling the funders how you want to spend your money, you want to make sure it agrees and aligns with what they have in mind. If they're funding education projects, then your funding must agree and align that we're going to fund a specific education project. If it's about, if it says, oh, there are a lot of tech grants out there. If it's a tech grant, then how you spend the money should be related to some type of technical aspect, whether it's hiring a technical assistant, the software. So you want to make sure what you're requesting for aligns with what the grant is funding. So that's what, just catching you up. So now we're fast forwarding. You have won the grant.
Yes.
What's next?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. I had a power surge. So you won the grant. So it's not time to have a sigh of relief just yet. If you thought you were done with all the paperwork after sending in your grant application, guess again. So I'm not trying to frighten you, but now you're gonna have to do a little more paperwork, because you're gonna have to be accountable for every single cent of grant funding you'll spend.
Try to turn on Do Not Disturb if you can.
Oh, okay.
Because y'all see she a busy lady, so it's a blessing that we have her right now. So real quick, and since she is a busy lady, if you have questions, drop them below and we will answer them on screen, okay? So make sure you drop your questions that you have and we'll answer them as we're talking. Okay. So Teresa said, after the grant's awarded, you can't just do a sigh of relief yet. Just a couple more paperworks you got to do.
Yeah, you have to do more paperwork. And I am so sorry. I am a busy lady talking about that. So you have to be accountable for every single cent of grant funding you'll spend. There are certain requirements that the funder will have to allow you to get the money. So like some things like you might have to submit certain records, you might have to submit certain metrics, because we have our data expert here, Dr. Michele, and she will help you get your metrics. Oh my gosh. You have to send your accounting practices, whatever you may need that the funder require of you, you're gonna have to send it. All right.
So I want to backtrack about the fund, like keeping records. So what is the best way? Is can they just, because I know my people, we like easy stuff. So is a spreadsheet sufficient? Like, hey, I'm ordering these. So for example, if you're doing some type of program, hey, I'm ordering these pens. That was a big thing at the conference, the nonprofit conference I was at. I'm ordering these pens. So I'm documenting these pens. I'm ordering these laptops. I documented these laptops.
Right.
Does that make sense? So
yeah, you're gonna have to have receipts. So whatever you purchase or whatever, you have to receipts, your invoices, everything you're gonna have to need to document. They may even ask you some when you do your reporting, they may ask you to do pictures or of what you've done in the community. You know, that's nice to have, or what that goes along with your metrics. So what you're going to do is in your grant report, you're going to tell the best story. Just like you told your story to get the funding, you're going to tell your story again to show, hey, we did spend the money wisely, efficiently, and according to your guidelines.
wow, okay. That's good. That's good. So documentation is key. And if this, I was gonna say this ain't no shade. Okay. If you keep poor records when you do your taxes, you might want to get somebody to help you with this too. Okay. Because I think, because how we do one thing is typically how we do everything. So I'm a type of person, I will keep my screenshots, my receipts. I'll put that in a folder. Everybody don't do that. So if you're not a person that keeps great records or documentation, and perhaps you need to get somebody, that doesn't mean you have to pay someone. If you have people that want to be a volunteer, that's a role they can volunteer for, someone to help you keep you organized. Like, hey, we got this grant funded. I need you to make sure that every time we pay for something, put the receipt in this folder. Because like we don't want you to ruin your chances of getting another grant, especially from this funder. Because if they're pleased with you, it's possible that you could renew your grant or have a long-standing relationship with them. So you don't want to interfere with a potential really like long-term partnership.
Right. And another thing I want to add, when you get your grant money, make sure you adhere to the time frame. Because sometimes grants say, oh, we're going to give you money from, say, September 9th until June or whatever the year. So in that time frame, the money has to be spent or used. So make sure you adhere to the time frame of the grant that's been awarded.
So now you got me thinking something else, and I'm sure, and I'm keeping my eye on the comments as well. So what happens if you don't spend the money by the time frame? Is it just use it or lose it?
Yeah, most of the time, if you don't spend the money within that certain time, sometimes you can ask for an addendum. You can ask and request an addendum to say, hey, we didn't get a chance to spend it because but you got to have a reason why you didn't spend the money. It has to be a good reason, and the funder has to approve it. So you can get an addendum. But a lot of times, if you don't spend the money, some agencies ask for the money back.
Like, wait, the money that's unused?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so this is kind of taking a life of its own. So I think this is what is so important. A big takeaway from this live stream that you're watching, even if you're watching a replay, drop in the comments if you're watching on replay. And again, if you have questions, we will circle back and answer them. Our notifications are on, so we will circle back and answer your questions that you have.
Mhm.
But to me, it shows the seriousness
Yeah.
of not just documentation, but just being an organized person in general. Because organization is also considering the timeline, like time management. So if you know you have 9 months or 12 months or 18 months to spend the money and you're so consumed with everything else, it's possible that you won't even get to really do the fullness of your program because you ran out of time, which means you possibly could run out of money.
Right.
So when you're, I think a hard part, a lot of times we just think about the front end so much of
Right.
applying for grants that it's like we really don't think about the organization and the skills that we need on the other side of that. So I just want to park there for a little bit. What type of team members do you need to have?
Mhm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause I know sometimes they ask about like who's on your team and stuff like that. What type of team members do you even need to have to make sure you're managing this grant money well?
First, you need an authorized person that's going to be in charge of the grant.
Okay.
So I always tell people you need to align your internal processes with the reporting milestones, and that'll give you kind of like an edge to what you need to do. So you need someone who's going to be responsible for the program. You need your accountant. A lot of people don't have it, but you need somebody to manage that money.
Mm-hmm.
And you may need an evaluator, you know, so they can evaluate your program and break
Mm-hmm.
it down to see if you obtained all the mandated reporting requirements. So
Hey guys, I do program evaluation.
that's why I throw it in there.
Yeah, Teresa will write me in on things because that's part of my skill set. But I think you just hit it. So tell us one more time. We need a
Right.
program evaluator, an
You need a
accountant.
mhm,
Who else?
and a lead person like your ED or whoever is gonna be a project manager or whatever over it. And I
Okay.
always tell you this, and go back to the internal, like your internal reporting, your internal evaluation, they kind of serve like bumpers. They'll let you know if you go too far that way or too far this way. They let you know if you're on target to what you're gonna go. That's why it's so important that you do that.
That's good. That's good. And guys, we're talking about how to spend your grant money. And we're going to talk more about these or answer more questions like this at our upcoming Grant Success Unlocked workshop, which is on Saturday, September 23rd. We're planning to spend a lot of time with you guys. It's about 2.5 hours. We have some learning and doing part of the workshop because we want to make sure that you maximize your time to be able to have a great return. So the next time you apply for a grant, you win it or you have a better chance at winning. The whole goal, because we're not going to win everything. It's just, it is what it is. But we want to increase your chances that you do win. And so we make very elementary mistakes simply because we don't know. And so this workshop is going to at least allow you to make, high school mistakes, something that's a little more complex. Like some mistakes that you honestly, it's just so delicate that you wouldn't know. But now we're going to give you more insights. So you won't make the elementary mistakes anymore. And you just have a cheat sheet, like what I like to say, because Teresa is actually a grant reviewer. So you get the access to her. So she's a cheat sheet for you. So you'll know what to write, what not to write, because we kind of talked about what you shouldn't write as well. And you get to answer more questions like this during this workshop. Even though it's free, Teresa mentioned earlier that the VIP option allows you to have a more intimate time with us. So that way, if you want to talk about program evaluation and what that looks like for your organization, we can talk about it. If you want to bring a grant that you plan to submit in the near future, you can bring it and we can talk about it. So definitely register now at grantsuccessunlocked.com. So that way you can take this back to your organization and increase your chances of winning the next grant. And then we want to hear about it too. So, yeah, we're teaching this to you, probably, a large amount of people. But if you win a grant because of what you learned at this workshop, please let us know. Like that's going to fuel us to keep going. Okay.
Right. I just want to give, I know we've given out a lot of information, but when you're spending your grant money, try to avoid spending the grant money in a way other than that was specified in the grant requirement.
Mm-hmm.
or there may be, some legal ramifications. But I just want to, whatever you say you're going to do it and spend it
Right.
in accordance.
That's
Okay.
good. They were talking about that, and we're gonna wrap soon, guys. So if you have questions, go ahead and drop them. That's good, because when I was at the nonprofit conference, they talked about that. So however you said you're gonna spend the money, spend it, even if that means things happen. And I think that's life happens, and I don't think people are so rigid where they don't allow things to happen. So, for example, if you said you're gonna spend the money on calculators, but something else didn't come through, and now the children don't have pencil and paper, but that's more important than calculators, then let the grant funders know, yes,
Let
we have this need, this is what we plan to spend it on, but this can't, something fell through, or whatever the case may be, or flood happened. Stuff happens, y'all. Flood happened and wiped out these materials that are actually more important than these calculators. So yeah, we maybe plan on getting 50, but because we had to get a pencil and paper, we can only now get 25, and the children have to share.
Right.
It's totally fine if things happen, but you have to be able to be honest and have integrity and document that, and even let them know ahead of time before they get it. Because they're going to be like, hold on, this not how you said you was going to spend the money. Go ahead, Teresa.
Right. And that's what I want to say. Transparency is key. Transparency and communication is key when you are spending money or allocating money to different line items. Make sure if there's a change, you contact that funder before you go out and buy those pencil and paper. Contact them first, let them know what happened. And most likely, when things like that happen, I know a lot of funders, they're very lenient. And they're like, well, okay, just make sure you document it. Make sure you document the call, who you spoke to, the date, the time, what they said, and then you go out and purchase the pencil and paper, for example.
That's good. That's real, y'all, because sometimes you talk to one person and maybe they didn't have a consensus of management or whatever. Because I do that when I'm in my everyday life. Okay, what's your name? Because if I have to defend myself or defend my decision or what happened, I'm like, no, I talked to so and so on this date. So that's good. So we have covered a lot of things about spending grant money, like what to write, what not to write. And then once the money is covered, if you want more like this, just let us know in the comments, and we'll make sure that to present more information like this to you. We're going to be going live quite often leading up to the workshop. We're about to wrap. So make sure you register now for the Grant Success Unlocked workshop. You just go to grantsuccessunlocked.com. For whatever reason, it's not allowing me to show the banner to you guys. Just go to grantsuccessunlocked.com and register. And then if you know others that are interested in applying for grants, or perhaps have not been successful, tell them to register for free at grantsuccessunlocked.com. Any last words, Teresa?
Just attend the workshop. I'm there, and we are there to give out information because we really want you all to win those grants. I mean, there are billions of dollars out there, free money, and we really want to set you up for success. So that's why the Grant Success Unlocked workshop is happening.
Awesome.
Thank you all. Please submit questions.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Again, if you have questions, just drop it in the comments, and we'll be sure to circle back and answer them. Yes, and have a great rest of your day, guys.
Hi.